Don't have, hard money, which sometimes is what you need. I spoke with David on a deal that was under what we could take care of. And we'll share why we need some of the things that we need in order to take care of or get involved with the gold standard. And the gold standard in syndication, remember, syndication is pooling our money. And a lot of people, like you guys, are pooling your money on single family, which is very cool. But most people are syndicating deals on multifamily. So let's shift into what I can do for you guys. We've got bank. Bank is called recourse. And if you are not familiar with recourse, heads up. Recourse is like buying single family, and you're going to need your credit. You're going to need to have your tax returns. This is basically your personal financials. It is balance sheet. So what they do is they reach into your pocket, they take your wallet and say, that's mine now, and you cannot have any buying power until you pay me back. These loans are called recourse loans. They're 5 years in duration. So if your business plan is to hold it long term and it's less than $1 million, you're going to have a struggle when you go in 5 years to find another loan, because who knows what the interest rate is going to be. So we always say the longer the better, and it's not necessarily going to be recourse. Recourse comes into play when you're a new investor and you're trying to get this done as a JV deal. JV is a joint venture. So typically you have a smaller amount, you don't have other people's money. The people that are in the JV are using their own money. So a bank would be a great option. What we're trying to do is to get to have 3 to 5 transactions and 2 years of experience, so that then you can become a sponsor on someone else's deal. And the power is in using non-recourse debt. So when you're thinking about getting into 5 or more units, come to me first to see if we can get you into this agency debt, Fannie or Freddie. So make sure you've got your pencils out, because this is really where you want to go from day one if you can. Because if you cannot, you're at some point, um, you're going to hit gold, and you really want to have this. And you're going to delay your wealth if you start without this. So I don't want to be frustrating, and I don't want to discourage you. There is a place for bank, there is a place for hard money, but this is the focus in syndication. Syndication model, again, is use other people's money. Non-recourse, that means you're kind of separated from the transaction. Yes, you are signing your life away. No, you're signing on the loan, but it's separated. So if there was a default, it would not go on your credit. If you had a default or you were late, it would go on a bank loan, it would go on your credit, not in non-recourse. So in order to get a non-recourse loan, 5 units or more, $1 million, that's where we start. We're going to need 4 things. And if you're going to start out with agency debt, this is what you're going to communicate to your brokers. You're not going to look at all the shiny things that are 75% occupied. You need 90% occupied for 90 days. Now, Freddie would say, well, if it's average, we'll go ahead and do that. But for the most part, you're going to want to look at, and you're going to tell your broker, I'm only considering 90% occupied for 90 days. Okay, that's called a stabilized asset. So that's number 1. Number 2, you need in your group, could be 1 person, could be 5. The less people in your group, the better. You're going to want net worth greater than the loan amount. Net worth greater than the loan amount. So let's take, for example, a $1 million for property. You're going to buy a property, $1 million for. Your loan amount's going to be right around $1 million. So we're going to give you a loan amount for $1 million. You're going to need net worth of $1,001. Again, that can come from 1 person. It can come from 5 people. So you bring 200, you bring 200. So really, when you're building your team, you really need to have a conversation. How much money are you worth? How much are you worth? How much are you worth? When you pool everybody, that's your net worth. That's how much we can go for a loan. 75, 80%. When we talk about bank lending, going back to recourse, 5-year loan, 75% loan to value is what you get. And the amortization, anywhere from 15 to 25 years. So after 5 years in commercial lending, different than single family, you got to come up with, okay, where am I getting this capital? I'm going to refinance or I'm going to sell. Really, really important to know what your strategy is day one. What am I going to do? You really need to know that. We talk about a 4-step process before getting into commercial lending or commercial multifamily. That's one of the areas that you really need to be clear. I'm going to be holding this asset for 3 years. I'm going to hold it for 5 years, because you want to make sure that your investors are also in that timeline of how long you're holding it. I have been in deals where they were doing fix and flip with single family, and they had investors just like a lot of you are doing. And then they went to multifamily and they said, oh, we're going to do fix and flip. And then they decided, no, we're going to hold it longer, 10 years. And their investors said, I'm out of here. So we had to kind of pull out their investors, their capital stack, and we had to insert new investors. That's a bad place to be. And I highly recommend, again, talking about what is your strategy before you get on the phone with a broker. Understand your market before you get on the phone with your investors. Have it all set. So non-recourse, $1 million loan amount, you need $1,001 in net worth.
Julie,
Third
can I
thing.
ask you a quick question about
Yeah.
assets? When you talk about net worth, what counts and what doesn't?
Okay. So they will look at your personal home. They really, if you have the majority of your capital is actually your net worth is coming from your home, it's not a strong net worth, but they will utilize it. Okay. But you're looking for on net worth, you're looking for your investments, whether it's, I know we, us civilians, we have your 401k, we have your IRAs, we have limited partnerships. All of those go on a personal financial statement. And before you get into this multifamily, I would recommend filling out personal financial statements, because when the minute hits that you're getting into a deal, you have to submit that. So spend a week figuring out where all of your money is, put it all in a personal financial statement. We're also going to need a schedule of real estate owned. It's called an SREO. Put that all in there. Now, when you're a limited partner and you're on a $10 million deal and you put 100,000, you are not, you do not get to take $10 million as your net worth. I know that seems very surprising, but I have seen this on the personal financial statement. Okay. You're worth 0.32. That's how much your shares were. Okay. That's how much you get to put on that. Now, as you hold on to those assets, your sponsor, your syndicator will tell you, hey, your 100,000 that you put in is now worth 133,000. My asset went from 10 million to 12 million, but you only get to take that 133,000 on your personal financial statement. Okay. Does that make sense, Joshua?
Absolutely. I was just trying to figure out, is it just liquid assets or do they count
Those
LP
definitely count. Liquid
businesses and
assets for sure.
retirement accounts, et
Yeah,
cetera? And even stuff that's not liquid, they'll count as net worth.
absolutely. Yes.
Julie, I'm
So,
going to add a document in the chat that you gave me, and it's the post
okay.
liquidity examples, and it just goes through what you're able to kind of count as your net worth assets.
Yeah, that's a good one. All right. So we've talked about 90 and 90. Yes, David.
We have one question. On your PFS, how is it? Do you guys or do the banks, do they actually go in and scrutinize everything? I mean, do they? I mean, how? I mean, you could put. I'm not saying that I would put stuff or make stuff up, right? But I mean, how scrutinized is that? Is it, I mean, are they going to go in and go, well,
They're not going to ask you, sometimes we'll ask you depending on who the DUS lender, a DUS lender is a delegated underwriting and servicer where they take ownership of that debt. Some of those people will ask you for bank statements,
mhm.
but it has to make sense. I see personal financial statements where person makes $34,000 a year. He's worth $9 million. We all smile and go, seriously? And I scratch my head, and it is truth. The guy is poor, but he has $9 million in liquid in assets. It's possible. So it just has to make sense, right? I mean, you're not going to want to push it. You push it, now you're exposing yourself, and no one's going to want to do business with you. So, basically, let's tell the truth. You guys are good with that kind of stuff. All right. So again, we've got 90 and 90 net worth. Third one is liquidity. We need 10% post-close liquidity. What's post-close liquidity? That means after your down payment. On the day that you close, on Tuesday, the 31st, you close. At 2 o'clock, we close. At 3 o'clock, you put your liquidity back into your accounts. It's as simple as that. You don't have to hold that money. No one's going to touch it. It's just to show that you have money. Now, as Josie said, there's an example of what liquidity looks like. Very simply, cash, perfect. HELOC, maybe. You've got money, equity in your house, especially here in California. We got tons. It's in between the walls. We've got money, like just got to come out. Get a HELOC on your house, put that into the an account, that will show. Here's the example here. Money market securities. Again, you guys don't have 401ks and IRAs unless you have spouses. Though if they're wrapped in a 401k or IRA, we can't use those for liquidity. But if you bought Yahoo stock and Google and Tesla and maybe even, what was that stock that we just heard of? GameStop? Maybe you have some value in GameStop. You would be using that for liquidity. So, and maybe you took out a really, really big life insurance policy on your spouse that also has a cash value, and that's usable for the marketable securities. So again, that can come from one person, it can come from five. Always when you're talking to people, I mean, I don't know if you ever think about like multifamily marketing where they're always like, hey, let's meet for a coffee. You're like, oh, what are we going to talk about? You don't want to be like that, but every person is an opportunity to be an investor in your deal. And so whether you're looking for sponsors or you're looking for limited partners, you got to get an understanding of the value that they're going to bring to your team. And ultimately, you want to have this last piece is critical. It is 2 years of experience and 3 to 5 transactions. Okay, so I know you're going to say, well, I've got 5 single family homes. Can I buy a 100 unit building? Not going to work. I am a limited partner on 10,000 units. Can I get on, be a sponsor? Unfortunately, no. So we're talking like kind. So if you have 50 single family homes and you want to go buy a 50 unit building, Freddie would say, I think we could look at that. But if it's 5 units and you're going for 100, that's really not like kind. Okay, so I like multifamily. Stay in multifamily. If you have multifamily, and then that's something to talk about. Again, when you're talking to these people, you're going to be visiting with people on Zoom. There's always this thing called haves and wants. I have an opportunity, I need a sponsor, and that sponsor has to have the 2 years, 3 to 5 transactions. How do you find these? Many of you, maybe or maybe not, have met Lane Bean. He is a retired F-16 pilot. He's doing great things. He is a sponsor. Potentially you could utilize him on a deal. Now, he's not going to want to put his and sign on something that's 5 units, but potentially he would look at a deal where he could help you. He is such an advocate for helping the service members that, you know, you would call him up and start a relationship. Remember, these relationships are business relationships. You're going to be in business potentially for 10, maybe 20 years. So don't think that you make a phone call and now you're in a deal. You really, these relationships could take 1, 2 years. So start today, start meeting sponsors. It's really important that you find when you're talking to these sponsors or you're looking for a sponsor, if you're looking in Tennessee, it's really good to have a Tennessee sponsor. It's not a requirement, but it would be nice to have somebody who's doing business in that area. That, from a lender standpoint, that gives you credibility. Additionally, if you're in Arkansas and you're looking in Tennessee, you're going to want to have boots on the ground. You're going to want to have someone on your team, whether you're paying them 1% of the deal or maybe they're bringing capital. You want someone in that area. Now, we talk about, your partners. Everybody in that partnership needs to have a job. You can't just be a capital raiser. Here's my money, boom, and I'm on the deal and I'm out of here. The SEC guidelines, if you're not aware of them, are very critical. At this point, there is some shifts going on now where you can pay somebody for capital, but there are people that are getting their hands slapped for the way that they've capital raised. And they're people that you know very well. So you need to be really careful. 506B, how do you communicate? 506C, how do you communicate? These are really important to know before you get involved. You need to take this stuff serious. So in agency debt, there are 2 other things that you need to understand. We talked about non-recourse, your separation. You're going to need an LLC. You're going to need your personal financial statements. You're going to need a resume. I highly recommend you look at putting those all together now. The other things you need to understand is these types of loans, you've got 5 years, 7, 10, and 12. These are long-term debt. Okay, long-term for commercial, not so long if you're used to single family. So you have to understand what is my strategy, what is the right product to use that we can use to get our business plan done. So just like you go to In-N-Out Burger, you can get your whole grilled onions. Are they going to be chopped? Are they going to be fresh? I mean, there's a lot of options when it comes to commercial lending. So be really solid in what your business plan is, and let's talk about that. What can we put with it? And in that, you do need to kind of figure out, am I going to hold this short term? Because there's these things called prepayment penalties. Years ago, and many of you probably weren't even born, we could get on single family and you had a prepayment penalty. That went away about 30 years ago, but not in commercial. Commercial, there's always a prepayment penalty. And you have to figure out, okay, I'm going to get the longest term debt, 10 years, in some cases 12 years. 10 years is the cheapest type of product, cheapest, 10 years. You have to figure out, okay, do I want to do yield maintenance or step down prepayment? Now you got to get the pen out and start taking notes. So yield maintenance, let's talk about that. We go out and we sell these securities and we tell people, I'm going to pay you for the next 10 years because these guys are buying this property. These are people that buy securities. I'm going to give you a 3.5% return on your capital. Every day they go out to the mailbox, they get their check, every month, 3.5. And we're going along, and that borrower, who's the buyer of this apartment, who's the operator, says, you know what, I am done. I am out of here. It's year 6. In this environment today, we are at the lowest interest rates. We're at 3.5, 3.2. It's the lowest 10-year treasury we've seen since 1955. We have a new administration. We have a vaccine. We've got a ton of stimulus out there. We're sitting on inflation possibility. Most people would say we're not going to go down in interest rate. We're only going to go up. So if you're thinking about getting out in the next 3 years, I think that it's going to be pretty steady, because the Feds just told us 3 years we're not going to increase it. And we saw that in 2008 to 17, they held it. It was flat. So I want to say, I'm going to believe what the government says. Okay, great. If in fact the interest rates go up, those investors are going to be like, I want to get out of this 3.5. I want to be paid 5%. So the bank is going to say, no problem, we'll let you out of that deal. However, if you bought it at 3.5 and it goes down to 2, these investors are looking every month and they want to get the 3.5. It's now at 2. They're really pissed, right? They're like, I want to make up. You got to make me whole. I said for 10 years, I am going to make this. So it's called a prepayment penalty. Yield maintenance prepayment penalty could be $1 million to get out of it. And if you're looking now, you're seeing a lot of assumptions out on the market because they bought it at 5 and now it's 3.5. So that operator is like, I got to get out of this property. I'm going to sell it to you. And so you're getting some good deals on assumptions. That's the reason why, because they bought it at high and now it's low. If you can't sleep at night, yield maintenance might not work for you. I think it could be okay, in my opinion. I've been an investor for 30 years. I think you'd be okay. But if you can't sleep, we've got step down prepayment penalty. Now I know you guys are all taking notes, so go back to the notes, write a line across it, and put at the top of the line, and I know David's done this, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And below that, those are 10 years, you're in this deal for 10 years. Below that, you write under 1, you put 5. Under 2, you put 5. Under 3, you put 4. Under 4, you put 4. You see a pattern, 5, 5, 4, 4, then it goes 3, 3, 2, 2, 1. We talked about getting out in year 6. Jesse, I know you did this, you wrote that down. Year 6, how much is it going to cost me to get out of that loan? 3%. You're good. I'm giving you a star for your homework. 3% is what it's going to cost you, as well as a 3% sales commission as well. So when you're doing your underwriting, it's at 6% to get out of that deal. Some people say, that's awesome. I'm good with that. I can sleep. Some people would say, I'm getting screwed. I'd rather do the yield maintenance. So it's just something, how risk tolerant are you? So that's agency financing. Again, 90-90, net worth greater than the loan amount, 10% liquidity, marketable securities, and 2 years experience. Got to find that sponsor. And here's the deal. I'm hoping that Josie hurries up. She's got 2 years, because then Josie works for me and I put her into a bunch of deals. And that's when Josie sits back and puts her feet up at the beach and says, I'm just an ATM here. Cash is just flowing in, because that's where the capital, that's where your net worth is just, it goes through the roof. I need people like Josie. I need you to be like Josie so that we can work together. Because I get people, all brand new people like you are now, saying, I need a sponsor. You call Julie. I say, oh, David now has 2 years of experience. Talk to David. He can help you. And Josie is like, she's like the queen bee right now in White Feather Investments, because she is going to be your she's going to allow you all to get into these deals. She just has a little bit more time she has to wait. Again, we're going to look for hopefully agency debt that she has. If I know she's got some that is not agency, but we're going to take into consideration all of that information. All right, now listen, not everybody can have 90 and 90 in the perfect world. Not everybody can find that. So there are transactions that are less. And so in that case, we're going to go to bridge lending. I need, let me step back. I'm going to need T12, rent roll, your offering memorandum, and your syndicating deal analyzer, your modeling tool. I need to see that. Send that to me. We're going to look backwards of how this subject property is being managed, because if it was a perfect world, yeah, they'd have interest, the rents increased like we're going to do. They're not doing that. So we need to see where they currently are, because unfortunately, that's what we're going to lend on, is what is happening today. T3. You go to bridge, we're looking out into the distance. What's going to happen with this property if I give you, and by the way, agency debt gives you interest only. Interest only. Who gives you money free? I'm basically free. You're going to have bucket loads of cash coming in, income, and you only have to pay out a small amount of interest only. I mean, that's just crazy. I mean, if they would only do that in single family, it would be awesome. When we go to bridge, it's interest only. Here you go, have some money, have some money. Oh my God, this is awesome. What we need to do is we need to understand, if I give you $10 million, what are you going to do in 3 years? You have to prove up that I'm going to take this from, below market. I'm going to raise them $100. I'm going to raise them $250. How are you going to do that? How do you know? Because I've looked at ABC, EFG apartments down the street, and they've done this rehab, and that's what they're getting. And I'm going to do it as well. I'm going to do a better job though. So bridge lending is great. It's short term, but you have to have a business plan. What are we going to do after 3 years? I might be able to extend it 1, maybe 2 years. You need to be able to articulate to a lender, okay, at 3 years, I'm selling this. Okay, that's cool. At 3 years, I'm going to get a Freddie multifamily non-recourse debt. Perfect. If you don't have a sponsor with the bridge, you're going to need it. So you're going to need to find that sponsor, once you get out of that bridge. Bridge lending, it's a little bit more expensive. We're talking, regular 3.5. We're probably going to be at 4.50, 4.5 to 5.5. And then if that doesn't work, and let's say that you're in an area that Fannie says not going to do it, or there's too much crime in the area, and Freddie says not going to do it. CMBS, commercial mortgage-backed securities, may be an option for you. Typically, it doesn't have a rehab component, and most of us, we're looking for, C quality in B areas. So I don't spend too much time talking about CMBS. It's usually larger assets, 5 or more. It's $50,000 to get into a CMBS. It's a deposit. So, I'm working on a deal right now in Amarillo, Texas. Guy's brand new. I mean, brand new. He's been underwriting for a year. I've been holding his hand. He's in a deal now. 16.2. I helped him with the sponsor. Sponsor's like, cool, I'll be your sponsor. I'm not bringing any money. All right. All right. Now, who's going to bring in the hard money? They want 30,000 down. Who's going to bring that? This guy doesn't have it. So we're trying to find people to put earnest money down. So if you are in an area where you've got capital, you want to insert yourself, That's a way to get on the GP. That's a way to sign on and get your 1, 2, 3 transactions to become a sponsor. Finding the deal is hard. It is no fun. It's really difficult. So maybe you find relationships where you can do something else. You be a capital raiser. Hey, I can bring 2 million, I can bring $6 million. I need you in Amarillo, Texas on this deal. If you could do it, I want to talk to you because you could get into this like that. You don't have to be spending any time at the desk trying to figure out how to underwrite deals. That's kind of a pretty easy way to get into this. But if you're like me, I don't have a bunch of capital sitting around. Why would we? We're making no interest. So we have to figure out ways that we, maybe you can do due diligence. You're in Tennessee. I'm living, somebody else has a property in Tennessee. Hey, I'll do it. I'll get on the GP. Multifamily is such an awesome asset class to be in. You get first year, you may do a cost segregation. If you haven't heard about that, I think they were talking about that at the summit, maybe not, but do a cost segregation and you can get a bunch of your own write-offs on your taxes, tax-free. I mean, it's just amazing. When you do a cash out refi where the operator takes you off of the deal and then he holds on to the asset in perpetuity, he's still going to pay you some money, but that first 70% that you put in, he gives it back to you. It's tax free. Tax free. I just made 50,000. Here you go, tax free. I feel like I'm a multi-level marketing person talking about, oh, how great this is. But it is absolutely true. It's happening and you really need to get to be part of it. I absolutely love what I do because it's really exciting. It's
Julie?
Yes.
I have a question about what you
Sure.
just mentioned.
Uh-huh.
With the cost study segregation, when you get the tax write-off, is that something like single family when you sell the house? Does it affect your taxes then, like as far as capital gains, or do they, or is it?
So couple different things I think I'm hearing you ask. So there's a 1031.
Right. Okay.
So you take that to the next, so you don't
So you can,
take capital
okay.
gains. Okay. That gets a little bit more challenging when it goes from a single family. I just did this on my own property in San Diego. I took a bunch of money. Of course, that's what we do in San Diego and California. We get a bunch of money. We make no money. I have a property, David Ortiz, in North Park, San Diego. I make $11.59 a month. I just bought fire alarms for it. I spent $100. I said to my husband, we just spent all of our money that we made for a whole year. But I will walk away with 400 or 500,000. If I don't take that and put it into something else on a 1031, I'm going to be hit with a tax. I was able actually with Lane Bean, we took my money and we put it into a deal. Now I'm an owner of a $10 million deal. That's pretty cool. You have to make sure that you hit all of the marks. If you were to bring your money, like, money that you've earned, 100,000, and you put it into an asset, that first year, we're going to get an accelerated depreciation through cost segregation. So the operator will give you 0.32, whatever your ownership is for your taxes, K1, and then you apply that to your taxes and you get that write-off. I'm an owner. I own 0.32%, but I get the tax advantages. You don't get that in stock market. I mean, you're just waiting for it to fall. That's where I'm at with that. So if you do have a 1030, there's so many numbers, 401k, you should really look at how you could utilize that money in a solo 401k. Now you go out shop, hey, I got $100,000, and you go and put it into someone else's deal. There are ways, there are insurance policies. You can utilize that money and invest it. I know that Mark Kohler has probably told you some of this stuff, and so he's all fired up. Oh my God, is that guy fired up? What questions do you guys have?
When the multifamily goes full cycle and it sells, then you just, that's my question. So
there is recapturing. There is a
Mhm.
recapture. Depends on how long you hold it. Now, some people would say, I'm only going to do a cost segregation and do it because I'm only holding it for 5 years. But if the strategy is to hold these things for 10 years, and by the way, nobody does, they say they're going to, very few, okay? You wouldn't want to do a cost segregation because it doesn't really matter. And you know what? Greg just showed up on the scene, and he probably has done something like this. Greg, have you done a recapture? Hi. Have you done a recapture on a sale when with your depreciation, when you've done your cost segregation, your recapture?
Yeah, I mean, as far as going full cycle and had
Yeah.
to go through all that, yes, ma'am, we did.
Yeah. How did that go for you?
It went well because we bought new property in the same year.
Okay.
So the same, literally like 3 months after it sold, bought a new property, which is more expensive, and invested quite a bit into it. I still did owe tax, but it was greatly reduced from what it would have been otherwise.
Yeah. Who else has a question?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question on the post-close liquidity from the chart that Josie put in. Under the first one of the examples was euros. So we're living in Germany right now, and I get paid in euros. And I never thought with US real estate that I could use euro income or anything on the US side.
Or her retirement account.
Yeah, so I was just curious how that could count or would count.
You know, I don't know exactly how we would do that. I mean, if you have money that's over, you know, your own money, you know, typically you're not American, so we'd be talking to a German person.
I am American.
Right. So,
Okay.
so that's different. Most of the time, what they're talking about is somebody that
I
is,
see.
yeah,
Foreign investor, not
exactly.
US investor. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Jesse, what else you got? You know everything? You need any questions? You got anything?
I know nothing.
Ah,
No, I'm just here absorbing.
you're dangerous. You're dangerous. Who else? Did I answer all your questions? All right, excellent. You know,
Hi, I'm sorry. I do have one. My name is
Okay.
Carly. My video
Carly.
is not on just because we were in the car and I didn't want to make anyone dizzy. Thanks for everything.
Oh, sure.
My husband and I, we have a number of multifamilies and but have only been really investing full time over the last couple of years. And we have a couple that we were doing the cost segregation on, but we're very curious. Can you expand a little bit more on the why it doesn't seem to really make sense if you're holding a property? You just use 10 years as an example.
Yeah, you know what? It's not my area of expertise. I'm just telling you what I've been told because I don't get into cost segregation. When I invest in my properties, we're typically 5-6 years and we do a cost segregation. The feedback that I've gotten is don't do it if you're holding it a long term. But that's as far as I can answer that reasoning. I don't know if Greg, you know anything more about that, but again, the syndication model is not so much long term. They'll tell you, we're going to hold this for 10 years, but everybody really gets in and out 5 years most. I mean, right now we're seeing maybe 5 to 7 just with COVID and not, you know, people were concerned that, well, I can't get the rents up in this COVID environment. Well, We've seen 7% in the middle of Gunpoint, Texas. It's not called Gunpoint, but it is Gunpoint. And they're getting 7% rent increases. So, I mean, it's possible. You could do it for, you know, 3-4 years. You walk away with a bucket load of cash and you go to the next one.
Julie, was a question on timeline?
Cost segregation, where people, you know, if you're doing a shorter term, to do it if you've got 5 or 6 years on a cost segregation, that makes sense, as opposed to doing, if you're going to hold something for 10 years, that the cost segregation is not, people aren't doing it as much. It's typically for a shorter term hold.
Well, I mean, either way, you can reinvest the savings, the tax savings early on, and
Yep.
so you get some velocity of money that way. If you, regardless of whether it's 5-year or 10-year hold, after you take that bonus depreciation that's available right now, then after that, everything is not quite straight line. Well, I guess it is pretty much straight line depreciation after that for what's remaining. So
it's not as valuable, let's say.
Yeah, Carly, I've heard, just to jump on with what Greg is saying, I've heard that it's worth taking the bonus depreciation now, no matter what your hold is, because it is a wash end, but then you get that benefit now, which may not be around much longer.
Yeah,
That's
and
very
that's
true.
exactly our thought.
Yeah, this is Jared. So our thought was that actually you want to do the cost segregation if you're going to hold longer. If you're only going to hold for a few years, then you have to do the recapture. So you're not really getting the benefit of, you know, the upfront savings. If you take the upfront savings, and regardless of if you hold it for 10 years or 30 years, that time value of money in that first year, you know, just the basic corporate finance time value money, then you're getting that advantage in the first year, but you're not going to have to recapture it if you hold it for, you know, at least 7 or 10 years.
Yeah.
That was our understanding. So we were interested to hear the contrary of not doing it if you're going to hold it, because we are 10-year investors, even though we hear what your argument, but we're buy and hold. So that's what we like. But that was kind of something contrary that we wanted to run to ground to make sure that we weren't thinking about it wrong.
No, you definitely want to do a cost segregation. I mean, especially, you know, with these uncertain times right now, do it. But I would, there are people that do that for a living, and it's not me. So I would talk to Yona Weiss if you have questions about that. There are other, Terry, what's his name? He'll do it as well. So
yeah, that's okay. We appreciate the relaying of the communication. We do have somebody that we've been working with already, so we're okay. It's just we love to hear a different perspective. So
sure. And a lot of times, when you say you're a long hold, you can be a long hold, but a lot of the times the strategy is that you are getting cashed out for 70, maybe even all of it, and you're still going to receive the cash flow for a long period of time. You know, I've seen the strategy where it's 3 to 5 years. You walk away with your capital, but you're still in the deal. That syndicator is holding it, but he's giving you money. So that too also could be considered a long hold strategy.
Yeah, exactly. That is more along the lines of our mindset.
Yeah, but, I like that strategy.
Yeah. Well, everything has been really great, even though we joined late, 20 minutes late, but really appreciated hearing you, Julie.
Sure. You guys, I am a phone call away. This is what I do. It's my passion. I'm an investor, as you know. I am a landlord of 20 years, and I know how to walk a property. I know what is necessary. So I feel like I'm a pretty good resource. And I can help walk you through these things. You guys are also welcome to jump into my network. I run a Zoom at 8, which is every Tuesday night. We've been doing this for about 18 months. So we're before the COVID, everybody's got to jump on a Zoom. We had this down before that. So we have some pretty strong speakers. We meet at 5 and on the West Coast. It's actually called Zoom at 8 Eastern, p.m. Eastern, Zoom at 8 p.m. Eastern, every Tuesday night. And so we have an hour of speaker, and we have networking for half an hour, and we do speed rooms, speed dating. And we have taken 2 deals down where somebody needed extra capital. We got the group to help invest. That's really what I think there's a power in these networking groups. You go off and say, hey, I've got a deal. I'm looking for an investor, and you can, pretty quickly get these things across the line. But keep in mind, we have to be very careful with the SEC guidelines. We have to have a relationship. And if you come to Zoom at 8, you now have a relationship. So.
Julie, how did I only hear about this meetup you had like a month ago? I have no idea.
I don't think you were listening.
She was blocking you, Greg.
Yes, yeah, probably. There's probably some truth to that.
Yeah, Zoom at 8. Here's the deal. It was through the Michael Blanc education program when we first started it, and it was I put it together because, with other education programs outside of like the White Feather investment is so cool because you have people that are limited partners and GPs. This Michael Blanc group only had GPs, so nobody was feeding it. And I was like, we need to get people to feed these deals. So that's why I started the Zoom at 8, was to help these, help them understand.
Same way. They think multifamily is all about GPs. They don't have a passive investor track.
Terrible.
Yeah.
And you know what? I will tell you this, guys, and whatever it's worth, I think I've got two golden nuggets, maybe 3. One, everybody should be an LP on somebody's deal. Somebody that is like, for instance, Greg, he's not Grant Cardone, but he's going to sit down with you. Josie's going to sit down with you and say, okay, this is why we did what we did. Grant Cardone's going to take your money and he's going to say, here's your money every month. You have no idea what just happened. But when you get with a sponsor and be an LP, he's going to tell you everything. And if your goal is to be a GP, this is the best education. Put 50,000, put 100,000 into their deal, because that's the best money spent, because you're going to understand it firsthand. I mean, that's my one golden nugget. Second golden nugget is that if you're looking in a certain market, I'm going to Chattanooga, Tennessee, and you live in Phoenix, do not start making calls to Chattanooga. Do some work in Phoenix. Call up brokers. Make mistakes. Ask stupid questions. Get them to hang up on you. Call another one. Do it for like 6 months. Be a real dumb person in a market that you're not going into. Once you got it down, go to that Chattanooga, build the relationships, because all you have is your reputation. And if you make all these mistakes, they're going to say, oh, that guy is calling again. Joshua, I'm not taking his call. And now you put yourself back. You put yourself back a year. You got to build your relationship. You got to build your reputation. So those are the 2 golden nuggets. Anybody else?
Julie, do you have a link to the Zoom at 8?
It is, what I could tell you. The best way is to go to Facebook and look up Zoom at 8, AT, Zoom at 8 p.m. Eastern. And on the left side of it is the link. And you can make this a reoccurring. We're there every Tuesday. Make it a regular thing. Commit to it. There's people that will change your life in there. They're great people, great relationships. Again, yeah.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to. I was going to ask, do you guys do construction loans at all?
Well, so a bridge loan would be kind of considered a construction loan. We would look to a bank for that, which would be a short-term loan if it was, recourse. But keep in mind, recourse is going to put your hand in your pocket.
Yeah, understood. Just curious. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Anybody else?
Julie, what are your thoughts on preferred equity partners? Like institutional preferred equity partner for larger deals?
It seems to be like the thing to do right now.
I see a lot of people doing that right now.
Funds, preferred equity. I'm looking for one right now on that Amarillo deal. And so you can get, 8% with 4 out. I mean, you can make some money in this. Again, you guys have an amazing network of people. I mean, you guys hit gold, even though you guys work so hard, your commitment to keeping other people safe. You could take that, the commitment that you made and really take advantage of of your network. Because this is your network is your net worth. And you guys have a huge network to expand your net worth. Really, I'm jealous, honestly.
Julie, you're like an honorary member at this point.
If I can help in any way, it is what I do. I'm a great connector, and if I can help find a sponsor, Greg, you can be a sponsor, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, the value that Josie and Greg have it's going to make you guys rich as well. It's a love fest. Everybody's helping each other. It's like nothing else. It is not a W-2. It is so fun.
It almost seems too good to be true, but
it is, Greg. It is.
Since I started doing this 5 years ago, I've about quadrupled my net worth. So, and I haven't been tackling it as hard as some people have. So.
And the thing is that I met Greg. I don't know how I met you, Greg, but at some point I met you, and now Greg is inviting me to his house to have some wine.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's like we all speak the same language, and now we're all one big happy family, and it is awesome.
Yeah.
Greg's having a party tonight anyway.
I'm in San Diego next week. Who are we going?
Come on over. Seriously, let's get together. Let's get together.
I mean, Josie came to town the other day, and we put together a dinner. So it is so cool.
Yeah, let's do that for sure.
Awesome. Well, I know we went over, Julie. Cannot thank you enough.
Oh yeah, I feel so lucky to be with you all today.
Yeah, this has been wonderful. I think everybody got a lot out of it, and yeah, I can forward your Zoom at 8 as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and as well as your little liquidity chart that I flashed up.
Yeah.
It's helpful for anybody. But her email was on the invite for today, so if anybody wants to get a hold of Julie, she's not hard to find, and she's a good contact to have.
Yeah, I put my contact also in the chat, so don't forget to hit the 3 little buttons after the meeting over on the chat. Do you guys know how to do that? Maybe not. So Marcus, go to chat, open up chat, and look at the 3 little dots on the right side there. Yeah, now you can take that with you.
Love it.
And if you didn't know that, just go, oh yeah, I already knew that. You look like a real smarty.
Just been screenshotting all day.
Oh, look at that, Jesse.
Way better. Look at there.
That is so cool.
I appreciate it.
I added value.
There you go.
So cool.
And I did.
Can you say it again? How do you do it? I missed it.
Okay, so open up the chat.
Yeah.
You see it on the right side. There's 3 little dots.
I'm on an iPad.
Oh, so where you would type a message.
Okay.
Yeah, do you see it?
Oh, 3 little dots, chat. Yeah.
Open it. Says save chat.
Oh, okay. All right.
And now you take that with you. When you close it out, you'll see it'll send you this little meeting chat, and then you save that to your desktop, and then now you have 15 new friends.
Okay.
And one thing that I'm doing in my other groups is really encouraging people to support each other as much as they want on social media and that type of thing. I know some of you have day jobs and you probably don't want your LinkedIn blowing up with real estate stuff. If that's the case, don't do anything. But like what Angie did is she created her business page, and There's some other folks I know who have done that. They got their, 2 profiles then. Is it okay with everybody if I post a picture of this group on LinkedIn? I don't have to link it to you. Is that okay? And if not, I can black you out as well.
Okay, so let's just have it out there, people. This is a networking thing that you need to be on Facebook. You need to be on LinkedIn. This is going to build your business. Be everywhere. You have to tell your friends, this is what I'm doing, because that's going to build credibility for you. You have to market yourself.
I'm going to take a picture, and if you don't want your photo on there, that's okay. You can turn off your camera. How about that?
We're in this together. Come on, guys.
All right, no silly faces. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Awesome, got it. You guys look great. Thank you. Yeah, and I would recommend, if you guys are up for trying to kind of build a presence in a network, look each other up on LinkedIn or wherever you are and follow. And, if someone is making comments, like, I don't know, Christian, are you active on any of those? Because I'd be your biggest follower. You got a lot going on.
I should be. I have a lot of fans out there in the cyberspace, but I'm not.
Everybody should do it. I'm telling you, it's,
Yeah.
I have built my business through social networking. It's ridiculous, but it's the truth.
But it is tricky, I think, especially in this crowd, because we are so stoic, in our military roles and our civilian roles. I mean, it's taken me months to change the job I left in July to a real estate profile, because I want to be taken seriously and I want to be seen as a professional. That's why I asked, if it's okay, I won't link this to anybody, but if you look me up, it'll be here. You can like it if you'd like. And
everybody link to me. I want you on my network. I got to go, you guys. I got to jump on another Zoom call. So great to meet you. Great to be with you today. And I look forward to working with you all.
Awesome.
Thank you.
We're going to Greg's tonight.
All right. Well, next week. All right, guys. We've gone long. I'll send out a couple ideas for adding names or changing the name of this. I want to open it up, not just Service Academy, because folks like Greg and Greg, actually, both Gregs are not from academies. I don't think we need to be that exclusive. So just let me know what you think. And I'll try to keep getting some value add type speakers like this. I think that was really awesome. It's nice to network, but it's also great to learn from professionals out there. So
that was great.
Thank you. Sound good? Awesome.
Good.
Guys, it was great seeing everybody. Have a good weekend. Thanks for joining, Mark.
Thank you again. Thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Josie. Great to see you.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
We should
Thanks,
catch up.
Josie. Bye.
Thanks.